Welcome to Cisco. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sujit Ghosh. I'm a TME manager in the wireless networking business unit. So I've been working with the team at the back end to get this going for you guys today. So we have put a team across to show you the best and the new stuff coming from Cisco. So I'll introduce you to the team quickly. As I said, I'm the TME manager. First, we're going to start talking about Hotspot 2.0. For that, we have Bob Friday. Bob Friday is our CTO in the wireless networking business unit. So he's going to talk about what are we doing for Hotspot 2.0, where we are, and how we are leading some of the efforts in the industry on Hotspot 2.0. Then we'll move on to 11AC. You have heard a lot about 11AC, and we went out with the press outside with talking about 11AC and what are the products coming. And we have set up some stuff over here also. So we will try to show you a demo on 11AC. We have things going over here. And then followed with, so for 11AC, we have Mark Denny. He's the product line manager for access points, and 11AC falls in his cat. And then we have Damodar. Where is Damodar? Damodar is one of the TMEs. He's going to help you with the demos. He has been working for the last 7-8 days continuously to get the demos going. Then we'll follow with the Bonjour gateway. What are we talking about Bonjour gateway? For Bonjour, Jivan Patil, where's Jivan? Jivan is a product line manager also for the controllers. He's going to talk about Bonjour gateway with a demo and from Damodar. And Sudhir Jain is a principal engineer. He's been really working on the design of the Bonjour gateway. So for all the tough questions, we can save it for him. Okay? And then followed with AVC, or application visibility. So we are adding a lot over there. So we're going to talk about AVC. AVC will be introduced by Jivan again because he is the product line manager for that. And Paul in my team also is going to be doing the demo, followed with Bala. Where's Bala? Yes, Bala is also a principal engineer working on the design of AVC on the controllers as well as Seema. She's the technical leader for this project and been working from day one on this. So that's the team we have put across, and we have much more folks from Cisco at the back to listen to you all as well as answer if any questions come up. So said that, I'll hand it over to Bob for the Hotspot 2.0 section. Okay. The slide.
Yeah, thank you, Sujit. Let's see if this works. So yeah, thank you everyone. And as I told Steven, I'm amazed that the wireless blogging community has gotten this large. I didn't even know there was a wireless blogging community, so it's great to have everyone here. I usually like to start this, my background is I spent most of my career kind of in the unlicensed Spectrum Wi-Fi side of the business. I don't know if any of you guys remember Ricochet and Metricom and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. So I spent a good chunk of my life trying to make that work. If I'd only known that the iPhone was missing, I would have not have wasted 12 years doing that. But if you kind of look what's happening here, we have kind of this cellular mobile voice world that we've all kind of come and known to love, and we all depend upon in our daily lives. This world over here, after 20-some years, they finally got enough wireless capacity to cut the fixed voice code, right? I mean, we've kind of got to the point now we live off our phones. We don't need a fixed voice network very much anymore. The Wi-Fi world is where most of us got our first kind of mobile internet experience. This is where Apple came out with the airport. We got our laptops. We started doing a little coffee shop thing, going to the hotels and everything. So living in this world over here, I used to call these guys up, and my standard joke was it was kind of like my early days of dating. I'd call them up. I'd say, Verizon, AT&T, are you guys interested in any of this stuff? I didn't get many calls returned. About 3 years ago, the iPhone came out. And I think we all have to take a moment to thank Apple and Steve for, kind of giving us a reason to live now. But what happened about 3 years ago with the iPhone is these guys finally started calling me up. I got my first call from Verizon. And that's pretty significant. I mean, if you kind of think about it, the magnitude of that phone call, the fact that, someone like Verizon had some interest in unlicensed spectrum would give you some indication that something was happening. And I think what we're seeing happen right now is kind of the start of this next big innovation cycle. If you look what happened with the internet, Google kind of won that innovation cycle. If you look at social networking, Facebook won that kind of big innovation cycle. And when you see what's happening with this next innovation cycle, it's really around how do we get information to people easier. Google made it really easy for us to search the internet for information. But we're starting to get in a world now where you want information delivered to you in new and faster, easier ways. You want that information delivered to you based on where you are and based where your preferences are. And we're seeing a whole new flock of startups who are kind of on that mission right now. So I have 3 slides here. I was told this is an interactive group here, so feel free to interrupt me whenever you have any thoughts or comments here. But this is kind of the background or the entry point into kind of the Hotspot 2.0 vision. And I don't know, how many here have heard of this, heard of Hotspot 2.0? Ah, okay, it's working actually. That's a good news. Because if you look at the timeline down here, where these worlds collided kind of in this time frame here, this is what I call kind of the user select Wi-Fi paradigm, period. This is where, we went to our coffee shops, we decided if Wi-Fi was going to work for us or not, and then we basically brought our own security if we wanted security. With this collision, I don't know, when do you guys want to put the date on it? When did the collision start? 3 years ago? When did our iPhones come out?
Yeah. 5 years ago, but yeah, the adoption, the huge adoption was 4.
So, my time record is kept by Mobile World Congress shows. How many of you guys go to Mobile World Congress? Mobile World Congress is a big service provider show in Barcelona. I've gone to 3 of them now. So this will be my 4th one since I got that first phone call. And that's when I kind of said, this is when the paradigm shift moved from we kind of moved from this laptop paradigm. This is a very Wi-Fi centric enterprise device to this very centric mobile device, which is a Wi-Fi cellular device. So this is very enterprise, very consumer driven, and we're entering kind of what I call where when it comes to Wi-Fi and cellular, people really don't care how they get to their mobile internet now. We need to make that connectivity easier, and we need to make how we get information to you easier. Does that make any thoughts, comments, or?
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what led to about a year or 2 ago. I'm gonna see Dave is not. Dave Stevenson was one of the key guys who helped do this. We got a small group of people together, and the vision was around how to bring the Wi-Fi user experience on par with cellular in terms of authentication and roaming. When you look at your cellular experience, when you get off that plane, you may not like the fact that it costs you, $1 a minute and $15 a megabyte or something, but the connectivity thing works. Your phones connect and they just happen. We want to try to bring that same user experience to this new Wi-Fi paradigm that is creating out there. And this is where we got into this detect, connect, engage paradigm. And there was 2 things around Dot11, and when you look at Hotspot 2.0 and kind of look at the technologies it's built upon, some of the technologies are pretty common, Dot1X and EAP. Those technologies have been around in the enterprise space for quite a while. So to some extent, we're just bringing enterprise security over into the public Wi-Fi space for the first time. The key part, though, is interoperability. This is what I tell people. It's one thing to be a standard. We've had these standards around for a long time. It's another thing to get everybody to do interoperability. And that's what makes the SIM card in your cell phone so good. It interoperates. Wherever you go in the world, that authentication happens. Everybody's agreed to a common way of connecting your cell phone. So that's one key part of Hotspot 2.0 is bringing that interoperability to this party. And this is what we're trying to do. And this is why this is an industry initiative. And that's why you guys are a key part of this. What I found in trying to move industries, trying to get people to help. I get a lot of people who tell me why it's so hard and why, why are you doing this? I get a fewer number of people who actually want to help make it happen, right? I need to get the device vendors and the operators, the infrastructure guys, all to try to rally to this flag. And we get into funny chicken and egg problems where, I have infrastructure guys say, yeah, I'll do it as soon as the mobile device guys do it, and I got device guys telling me I'll do it as soon as the infrastructure guys do it. To some extent, you in this room, consumers are another voice in this discussion. When you look at the stakeholders at this table, we've kind of moved from the days of where the mobile operator was was mobile operator and Nokia or something. This discussion really has mobile operators, OS vendors, and device vendors who all have a stake in how these clients are going to behave. And Apple kind of represents the consumer. Apple's taken a position of, they really represent the consumer experience, and they've brought that consumer voice into the discussion, giving the consumer a seat at this table.
Do you have any insight into, you just said Apple, as obviously driving quite a bit of that from the handset perspective. We've talked to several infrastructure folks that are already shipping new support products today, Cisco and a handful of others, right? When do you see, and who do you see taking the lead from a client perspective as far as bringing this to market?
Well, I mean, what's public is the Samsung Galaxy. So I can say this, if you go to the WFA website, one of the first devices that was actually certified on the same day that WFA made it available was the Samsung Galaxy. So that gives you kind of an indication of, who we've been working with on trying to push this forward. So I would say Samsung is definitely taking a position, a public position. I mean, I think we all know Apple. Apple's not going to take a public position on too much of anything, right?
Can you see the support from the infrastructure side is moving beyond the carriers and to like small mom and pop shops and similar sort of thing to the WISP?
Yeah.
ISPs?
Yeah, so, the question of, how, what I see happening evolving out there around the, I do see another group of people evolving when it comes to Wi-Fi. It's clear that the mobile operators with licensed spectrum, it's not, you're not going to dig a trench, if it's a fight, you're not going to dig a trench around licensed spectrum. There's so much licensed spectrum, you're not going to go buy some and start a startup around there. And the Wi-Fi, what I see happening is, and this goes back to this kind of engage slide, there is the connect piece of this of, yes, we got to make it easier for people to get connected to these networks seamlessly. The other thing that Dot11 U brings to the table is the engage part, where we're starting to see hospitality, retail, healthcare, where people are starting to find, where the mobile internet is becoming a necessity, right? And now there's a new group of people that look like SPs, right? And this is what I call kind of the B2C thing, where we've had enterprise customers in the past, who've had to, who are dealing with employees bringing consumer devices into their space. There's another whole group of people who are dealing with consumers directly for the first time, right? In the retail space, they all want to provide some mobile experience to that consumer inside that retail space. Hospitality is another classic one, right? The internet connectivity in the hospitality space has become an executive level discussion, right? It's got to the point, and that's because of you. I mean, how many of you guys go to your hotel and have a terrible internet experience, right? And how many of you decide after that experience that you're going to do something else next time you go back to that city, right? Well, I can tell you.
My booking agent has direct instruction to cross the hotels.
Right. So I mean, this is
bad internet access.
right. And so that's like, yes, I want I want hot water. I need I need power, and by the way, I need some internet connectivity. Do not put me in a hotel without bad internet. So that has become a key executive. Well, I can tell you, I've talked to enough executives in the hospitality space. You've gotten their attention. Whoever answers the survey, they start having you guys start to write it in. Bad internet, not coming back. That has reached the executive levels. So that's the. So to your question, I think we're going to see another class of people kind of come pseudo SPs, right? Whether or not the operators themselves supply the service, and I think there's an opportunity for that, right? Where the mobile operators actually come in and supply the service to the hotels, stores. To be honest, the networking is not core. When you talk to a retailer, their core business is selling merchandise, not trying to run a public network. But they have a very strong opinion on the experience inside their stores. So there's kind of a shared responsibility at the network level. Yes, they need the network, but they also want to have that content part of the story there also. And that's probably the other thing is I've spent more time now lately with marketing people, right? When I go out and talk to customers, I'm finding myself in interesting, where I used to spend a lot of time directly with the IT guy, now I spend a lot of time with marketing and business guys, business owners, who are trying to solve some business in their venue.
Because they could potentially make money even from offering those types of services in their store, so it makes sense for them to look at it from a business perspective as well.
Yeah, and I don't think they're trying to monetize, you directly, but it's at a point now where the network has become strategic to their business because it's it's directly connected to their consumer or to their customer.
Who do you see being able to monetize it? Do you see that being carriers, providers, enterprises, end users taking money off of their cell bill? How do you see that manifesting itself in dollars and cents?
All those. I mean, I see when when I talk to people, like it's pretty public. I don't know, MGM. I've been out in public with John from MGM on, how we're trying to put Wi-Fi into a resort, right? And the vision kind of there is, hey, I got a great place. In his vision, he's looking for a connoisseur chef of Wi-Fi, someone who knows how to serve it up and actually monetize it. And they're looking at the local services experience. And this is kind of the analogy I would give between the stadium, right? If I'm in a stadium, telling me that the hot dogs at the top of the stadium are on sale half price is interesting, and I find that useful. Telling me that hot dogs and Safeway are on half price is annoying. And that's kind of this, what I call this innovation cycle of someone is going to emerge, and I'm not quite clear, the question is it going to be one of the winners of the post previous, is it going to be Google, Facebook, that figure how to monetize this mobilization of the internet, or is it going to be some new player who figures out how to deliver us information in new ways? And the network gets involved in it. When you look where the network role comes in, it's usually around what I call hyperlocation. When you go into a venue, GPS is kind of that outdoor technology. When you go inside of these venues, where does that location experience come from? You can try to do it without the network's help. It's just a lot easier if the network hands you the information of here's where the APs are, let me help you try to make this estimate. Local services is the other thing. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier if the network just says, here's what services are available, to your left, the ice cream shop, to the right, the bar, type of information. So that's what so when you look at Hotspot 2.0, there's really two components to it. There's the, what I call network optimization, and that's kind of the 3G offload discussion, of, making it easy to move traffic between Wi-Fi and cellular depending on what's appropriate. And then there's the monetization discussion, of how do we use Dot11 U, to help deliver other services that are relevant to you around yourself.
Wi-Fi has been adjusting to the carriers for years now. So they want Wi-Fi to provide services or control rather like 3GPP-like services. So we're approaching that with 2.0, but do you also see carriers adjusting to Wi-Fi, as Wi-Fi cannot, in the end of the day, provide the same level of service they would expect or like it to? So do you see carriers adjusting their own business model to Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of different dynamics going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the major macro dynamic of just mobile voice moving to mobile data. Forget Wi-Fi. There's just a whole bunch of business issues of, when you look at like a big mobile operator, there's a lot of complication of moving your whole business from selling mobile voice to selling mobile data, which is a very heterogeneous thing, right? There's a lot of data services to be involved in. So, if you're an access network provider, which data services complement your access network? So we work closely with some of the cable operators like, Cablevision and Shaw and stuff, right? There's definitely finding a connection between content and access that go better together, like sports content. right? People will pay a premium for sports content delivered to them over a better quality network. You know, when I look at the, you know, the other data point is probably if you look in the standards bodies in ANDSF, you know, the operators are trying to figure out how to get the connection manager behavior correct. You know, mobile voice was a very static policy. You know, when we moved to mobile data, the policy between the network and the mobile device wants to be much more dynamic. You know, you want to be able to send those management objects down to the mobile device, you know, to say, yes, I'm here, I'm willing to pay an extra $5 to download this video. So I dynamically want to change my policy of how I get things delivered to me. So the new piece here, I don't know, Dot11, how many of you, Dot11 U is, how many of you heard of Dot11 U yet? You guys are all in? So that's really, I mean, this piece of the puzzle is more around trying to rally the market to just get to interoperability. I'm not, I mean, we're not asking for any new fancy technology per se. Here is a relatively new function. You know, and what Dot11 U brings to the party is we're trying to replace the SSID functionality. You know, we got to the point where people were overloading the SSID with so much information. You know, they wanted 16 SSIDs to, you know, convey different information. So one of the things Dot11 U is doing is trying to put that information behind the beacons, right? So when you walk into these networks, your device should be able to say, you know, please tell me what services you have. Roaming happens to be one of those services. You know, please tell me what service providers are here. Please tell me what type of authentication, you know, who certification, who certs do you support, and what type of method do you support, so I know how to connect.
Do you see 802.11u being used in the enterprise beyond gas network, just for the overhead reduction that one SSID can bring in comparison to 5, 6 SSIDs?
Yeah, in the enterprise network, I think it's over here on the services. You know, it's like, okay, now, you know, now if I have a way of talking to mobile devices before you associate and authenticate, you know, what else can I do with this? You know, this is where, yes, I can get icons delivered to your phone. You know, and I think, you know, how many, see what our breakdown is, iPhone, Apple guys. How many iPhone guys do we have here? And then, okay, the Android. Okay, well, the rest of you Android guys, I'm with you on that.
Well, there's a BlackBerry.
Or a BlackBerry. Oh my God.
He's just Canadian.
Okay.
It's a Canadian.
National pride thing, I see.
Yeah.
How's that working out for you?
Yeah, I was about to take your wireless blogger card away from you. But yeah, so no, so Dot11 U is on the services side. You know, when you look at what services you can start to put behind that, that is really the monetization of when you look at the enterprises. Once the enterprises get this, what they can do with it. You know, on the iPhone, if you look at your service notification framework, you know, in your iPhones now, right, you can go to your iPhone, you can tell it how you want to be notified. You know, you can tell it how you want your email, your messaging, you know, what you want to be notified and how you want to be notified. So you can kind of take that paradigm and think about that in terms of the network, right? You know, I wanted to start to be able to tell my mobile device, you know, how, you know, what do I want to be notified about, you know, and how do I want to be notified? You know, so when I start walking into venues, you know, I should be able to get information that's relative to where I am and who I am, right? You know, I'm walking when, right? I mean, and so this is this concept of, you know, how do you get, you know, we're all overwhelmed with information. You know, it's got to be a lot easier to get relevant information to me where I am. I mean, I don't walk into buildings and start Googling I mean, that is not the best way to get information when I'm, you know, in motion. It's like I don't have time to stop and start trying to Google for something, you know. I need something to quickly give me an icon, give me a button, let me know the map. You know, if you got some sort of discount that's relevant to me, let me know that. And so I think that is what we're going to start figuring out. In the enterprise space, I think it's around worker productivity. You know, when you think about enterprises, it's more about operational efficiency. You know, how can they make workforces more operational efficient? You know, I've done a lot of work with like airports and hospitals. right? You know, operationally, you know, you think about walking into a hospital. You know, when you look at the cost of late arrivals to appointments, you know, there's actual real money and real ROIs around getting people just from the front of the hospital to the right room on time. You know, just doing that alone is probably worth billions of dollars. I learned a lot about airports, right? Just getting people from, you know, to the right gate on time so planes are not late. You'd be surprised how much it costs for a plane to go out late on a gate. So there's ROI stories around that. So that is probably the relatively new piece. Is, you know, when you look at the next generation devices, is once we get Dot11 U and Hotspot into our devices, there's the optimization. You know, there's the roaming thing. You know, when I get off that plane, you know, should I really have to think about connecting to Wi-Fi? You know, I just want my device to make the right decision on, yes, if I've got the right credential, please connect me up there so I've got internet connectivity. In a perfect world, at the perfect cost, at the lowest cost.
Do you see 802.11u also help with 802.11r, as in fast, secure roaming, because it brings additional information into the play? You can also look at, for example, bandwidth usage, load, or whatever.
No. I think you know, there's kind of an issue around connection manager and who's going to make the decision, network client. I'm kind of agnostic. You know, right now, yes, I need to get information down to the mobile device. Yes, I can tell you what the internet connectivity is. I can tell you what the RS, you know, what the packet loss is. So I give information to the mobile device and say, you guys, you know, please just make the right decision. You know, because the mobile device probably has a pretty good view of the LTE network and the Wi-Fi network. You know, like, well, which network should I put this video on? So I mean, I think that's the connection manager story, that people are starting to want to make more intelligent decisions on my network selection piece of the problem.
You know, I know Cisco has a close relationship with Intel, right?
Yep.
What about Apple in that sense? I mean, because we constantly hear, you know, 802.11r might be supported by Apple sometime here in the future. You know, Verizon's calling you. You know, I mean, do you guys interact with, you know, obviously Apple in general about their wireless devices and connectivity and what they should be doing and offer suggestions?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I mean, I would say, I mean, yeah, we interact with Apple. Apple's, you know, they got very strict. You know, they don't usually pre-announce anything. I would say in general, what I've seen happen in the consumer space is the things that they didn't care about before. You know, things that we only cared about in the enterprise, like Dot11R and fast, secure roaming stuff. You know, we see consumers caring about that stuff now, because now your mobile device is in a, you know, you're in a hotel. You do care. You know, you do want the roaming thing to work. You know, when you're at home on your single IP, it didn't really make any difference whether it securely roamed anything. I mean, two things. Consumer guys usually didn't care about security, and they usually didn't care about roaming. Now they care about both again. You know, now they want things to be secure, and they want to be able to roam. And 1 minute, Steven's giving me the hook.
No, can I just quickly add to that point? So, since you guys asked about 802.11r, you know, one of the things that I just quickly wanted to highlight is Cisco has released 802.11r, you know, in the 72110.04. That's already shipping as of now. And the only thing we can comment about Apple is, you know, go and take a look at what's in the seed, public seed that's available for all parties to download. So that's all I can say.
Yeah, I would say, you know, from Cisco, in that chicken and egg problem of infrastructure device, Cisco's taking a position of taking a leadership role in mobility. You know, so we got Dot11 U built into the product, Dot11R built into the product. So we're trying to break the chicken and egg problems. Yes, it's in the infrastructure, it's ready. You know, let's get the devices. Let's move the device ecosystem forward also.
Congratulations, by the way. Solved that chicken and egg pretty tough.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys can help. You're part of the spreading way. That's what I tell, you know, bloggers and industry analysts. You guys, you know, just spreading the word. You know, half the problem is just letting people know that yes, this exists. Here's what it does, and this is why you should learn more about it and actually move to it.
So you're assuming we have some influence over Apple and Google.
You have more influence over Apple than you realize.
They
Apple.
business.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, Apple is very Apple is very focused on the user experience. They're very focused, you know, on trying to deliver a user experience to you, right?
So what we want is a user experience.
A user experience, yes. Now, Sujat's giving me the 2-minute
Yes. Any
signal.
questions for Bob?
Or any more questions for my support? I drug these guys over here just so, you know, if there's any hard questions.
About the IP types, do you see PIP being inserted as well as for bringing enterprise closer to it?
The answer is, you know, not in the short term. I mean, these are the EAP methods that were defined by defined by the spec and the WFA. I would say the people who worked on this are the combination of operators, device vendors, and infrastructure vendors. And so this was, you know, and the theory was getting down to, you know, the infrastructure guys need to support at least, I forget, it was a couple of these. The device has to support all, because when I walk up to a network, I get, you know, you got to tell me which one do you support, and I go, yeah, I got that one, and get on. So the short answer is, you know, if they change the spec, yes. I mean, it'll take, what, a year or so to get WFA to add one to the list.